yet another edition of the Shirlma Show. And today we are honored to be in the presence of Laye Mbunkur, the Managing Director of Blue Moon. So I like the name Blue Moon. Vieni. So we're really honored to have you today on the show.
Yeah, I would say I'm privileged to be here. I'm privileged, and thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much. So before the show, I was just asking you about Blue Moon. So why the name Blue Moon?
Yeah, so this was young Laye a few years ago, graduating from ESSEC with my MBA and returning back to my hometown, Boya, and looking for a name to begin this new initiative I was so passionate about. And I was trying to find a name, so I got up this morning and I tuned to the radio, and the veteran journalist Jomo Kevin was explaining the meaning of Blue Moon.
Whoa.
So it was the first time I was really getting it. I've been using the phrase once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
I never understood what was blue moon. And he explains this is actually a moon that comes once in 28 years. So it's a rare kind of moon, and from this, our services were quite rare at that time. In fact, I did not know of other persons offering the same kind of service. So the name Blue Moon for me, it kept sinking in my mind, and in the morning I said, well, Blue Moon, why not? Blue Moon Outsourcing.
Wow, amazing. So we're talking about young Laye. So tell us a little bit about young Laye. So if I were to meet you maybe in Form 5, so what kind of personality was I going to kind of like experience?
Well, the transformation is quite, Laye has had different versions. In Form 5, I'm sure you meet somebody who will sit in class the whole day without maybe talking, and we just sit quiet and study. But as I move on to the university after my finishing from Upper State, I'm one of those who were lucky because my big brother was actually already in entrepreneurship. So he had one of the only music studios quite there. So before graduating from the university, he had all this. He was already in entrepreneurship and talked a lot about it. And I jumped right there into entrepreneurship. Wow. Tried quite a couple of businesses, quite a couple of them. I think today I've been founding team member of 14 different companies. So failed in many,
I can imagine.
Course. And I found that there were no real support for people who want to do business. Because I was lost many times. I reach somewhere, I face a new kind of challenge, then I get lost. Then I look for the solution, then I grow again. With the next business, I end somewhere, a new kind of challenge, I get lost. So Laye is this person who has been struggling trying to do business right from like 2 weeks after Upper State. Wow. We launched our first initiative.
Seriously?
With a group of friends after we graduated from school. And he has been struggling. So founding team member to the 14 businesses, 9 of which failed. Wow. 9 of which failed. And that's what gave birth to this motivation. I saw that entrepreneurs, you feel left alone when the challenges are there, and there is no one that seems to even be there just to listen to you, just to guide you, just to show you how you could move. And this has been my motivation passing through that journey, and I saw that entrepreneurs need this. Then gradually Laye became this person that entrepreneurs moved to explain their challenges, and found what he said valuable. Some go back and say, thank you very much for the discussion we had yesterday. It's really given me a perspective. Thank you so much for this. And I said, why don't I convert this into a business, you know? If people are appreciating what I tell them, and some go and send you, just have this token, and thank you so much. I said, then I can as well convert this into a business. So that's how the business all came about, and that has been my journey all through.
Wow, I really like that. What kind of leader would people say you are? Maybe the people that you work with.
Well, I often leave that for people to describe. It's difficult for me to move and be there to see how I'm being perceived.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking for my own lenses, I would say a leader that leads from the back. Because I often lead from the back. So if I'm part of the team, I may be the least person that's known out there. But I just prefer being in the back and pushing the team, and we move. And the team is moving, and I'm happy when the team is saying. My victory has always been the team. If won awards, most of them have been the team, not me. So I always try to lead from the back.
Oh, that's amazing. I like what you're saying, right? And now I'm actually wondering, right? Okay, if you're leading from the back, then there is this kind of like concept that always comes. Like, what amount of work do you actually leave in the hands of your staff? And let me say, when do you know when to come in and when to allow them, let me say, be proactive or do the work on their own? Because like as a startup, kind of like you have certain aspects, you have certain, let me say, a certain way that you want to work on your services. But there are times that you find yourself in a situation where you also want the staff to actually be independent. Yeah. So what amount of kind of like independence do you actually give with your staff vis-a-vis you coming in also to throw light and to make sure that they're actually following what you stand for?
Yeah, in my approach of leadership, I prefer to take a lot of time empowering the staff and letting them do. That's actually what I'm calling leading from the back, because even I should go back to when I work with companies, everybody, my secretary, everybody can prepare my reports, can go to my computer, can know what I do. I try to train everybody in the office, and most of the time my colleagues say, oh, I'm sitting and I have so much time because everybody can do my job. I train everybody, and they are happy when you empower a subordinate to do a job. So, but coming back to startups and businesses, I would say it's about knowledge and skills. As you provide them with this, as they acquire knowledge in this maybe line of activity, as you build that capacity, then it's about delegation. You begin by delegating. You delegate a little and supervise. Now, one error people do make is they delegate without supervising, and it all goes wrong, and they say, okay, it's this stuff. So when you delegate at the beginning, you keep a very close look. It's almost like you are doing the job all over again. Yeah. And gradually, when you see that this person is picking up and there are lesser errors you can identify, so you release a little more for this person to do. But another important factor is vision. You must be able to shape the scope. You must be able to show people the direction. So you could also let them take some level of initiative. So you make them understand the destination, where we are going. So when they have this clear picture of where we are going, so you are certain, even if they are making slight deviations, they have the destination in mind. So combining these are the two elements I use. One, as I said, the skill. You empower them, you train them, you build capacity, you make sure they know how to do it. Number two, so as you are delegating, you begin monitoring and seeing that they are doing it with less errors. When it reaches that level, you just see a level where you see that you are no longer useful, because when they do and bring and you look at it perfect, and you can release that job to them.
I love that approach.
They will do that.
I love their approach. Now, another thing that you preach so well, right, as a leader, I went to your website, okay? I hope that's fair. Okay, it's time yes. management. Yeah. And to be honest, when it comes to, it's not even a Cameroon thing, when it comes to Africa, right, time management is really something that we are lacking, right? So I guess my question is, how do you actually ensure that maybe we meet deadlines, especially with your job? And in circumstances when it happens that maybe you're not able to meet a deadline, how do you manage that with your clients?
First, if you're a business, if you're a professional dealing in the field, you must understand that we come from a background that time was a period, was a season, was not the o'clock time. Is not part of Africa's. It's not what we knew. Our parents knew we go to the farm in the morning, and morning could mean between 6 and maybe 10 a.m. is we meet in the morning or at sunrise or at sunset, and that was not a specific. It was some sort of a period, and this seemed to have been part of the culture we have gone with, and the o'clock time is something introduced to Africans of which we are still trying to cope with. So if you work in this country, you must consider that there are many things that will make people to fail on time. So if you have any activity, any project, any job to be done, if a client say, I need it on the 21st, you go to tell your team, my clients, they client it on the 15th. 15 last date. And you are putting them pressure and pushing towards us meeting up on the 15th. And you know, of course, that you got some little time in case they should miss. If they should miss, at least you have time, you could catch up and still deliver within that time. So most of the time, if I call a team member, how far with this job? When you say, I'm doing it, sir, I just say, come on, go and start. And it means you just reminded me, let me start. I just say, come on, go and start. You know? So you need to give earlier time. This is one of the ways you can manage. You try to always give an earlier time and leave a space where if there's a failure, at times you got to jump in and try to make sure the job is delivered on time, because people give you these jobs, they have expectations as to when they need it, and just some failure in time may cost someone really much, and that may be a breach of contract. But now, of course, there is no way it's quite challenging, I would say, to always meet up. Issues come up that at times you find yourself failing, which it should not be something often. It should be something that comes very rarely. And when this come up, it's about talking with the client early enough, the moment you realize that we are not going to meet up. That moment, you don't wait to come close. Even if it's still a little far, you keep the client informed. Because business, somebody says, it's about meeting up with commitments. We have a commitment to a client on the deadline for a delivery. And if we find that we'll miss this deadline, as early as possible, we try to inform the client, apologize, and try to see if we could push the deadline a little further. And at times, we have services that as early as 2 weeks before, we are already telling the client we are afraid we'll miss the deadline by this, or we'll come this hours late, and we find that most of the time they really appreciate. They appreciate you keeping them informed, and at times we join them in looking for plan Bs. Wow. That if we should miss this, the kind of plan B to mitigate the adverse effect this may have caused. And at times you got to even spend more than what the client gave you just to satisfy this client. Is of course, at times, just to maintain that relationship, you got to spend just to manage that. So, depending on scenario, there are different options and different ways we could handle that.
Wow. More with Laye Mbunkur after the break. If you're just joining us today on the Shirlma Show, we've been in the presence of Laye Mbunkur, the Managing Director of Blue Moon Limited. So tell us a little bit about Blue Moon.
Yeah, Blue Moon is an outsourcing and consulting company. What we do principally is to help small businesses which are in the growth phase. Blue Moon is not for it's not a lot for those who are starting up, but for people who have been in business a little and want to grow and scale. And that's where we come in to help. So we provide back office services and allow the entrepreneur to focus on his primary activity. I will take you for example. Mami Suzanne started this Aero restaurant and got one staff. She used to cook herself and serve the Aero, and gradually it was doing well. She had time, she would talk with her customers, greet them, they were happy, and business started growing. It reaches this point, Mami Suzanne has 10 staff. She can no longer buy goods every day from the market. She needs to have a small magazine. She can no longer do the sales herself. She employed people, so she needed them to keep records so that she could come after and see how the business is doing and how much they sold, and all these things start coming. And tomorrow, the customer walks in that Mami Suzanne used to have all the time with. Mami Suzanne does now only back office. Busy shouting. And Michael and Pascal, that some meat is missing. Some stocks are missing, and all these crises, she's bitter. She's not there again for her customers. And often when this happens, we say, whoa, this client is now, this business started making money and they no longer value their customers. No, it's not that they want to. There is challenges in the back office. What's happening is now new functions have come in, which are not the primary activity of this business. At first, her job was to cook, sell. Now she's balancing stocks, she's keeping books, she got to pay taxes, she got to pay social insurance, she got to calculate the payroll, she got all these things are coming in, which are not the primary activity, and they take her off focus. They exhaust her managers, and this may not be where she's most competent. So what Blue Moon does is come in and say, hey, can you just focus on cooking that area and let us do the rest for you? And outsource to us, we handle your taxes, we handle your books, we provide you with a coach, just everything that's not your primary activity, you can outsource to us, we handle for you. And you focus, you got all the time to cook, serve your customers and talk to them. And it takes away the stress. You know, when we come, entrepreneurs feel like you just took away that weight. There was this weight. It was like I was carrying something, and you guys just took it away. And I'm quite relieved. I know there's somebody there. There's another eye checking after my business. So that's what Blue Moon does.
Amazing. Like, it's amazing. Even the way you explain it, it's kind of, I can feel the passion in you. Right? I feel like hiring you already for the Shirlma Show. Okay. Yeah. So now we're talking about all the services, right? I meet a lot of startups. Like, they're just kind of like, I know you kind of like deal with people who have maybe already exceeded like the startup phase. But what advice will you have for startups who clearly need this kind of services that Blue Moon is offering, but they cannot afford it at the moment?
Yeah, affording professional services is always a cry for very young businesses. They got various options. Though at the end they're saying we cannot afford, but because you cannot afford, you end up spending more. So at the end, they spend more not being able to afford professional services. But of course, those times come when it's difficult to financially afford. I would say one approach is to sell the vision and have team members. For the startups I've mentored, I coach, that's what I always advise. You look at the key areas. You want to begin a business that involves a lot of videos and this, and you cannot afford the cost of. You need to be able to find somebody who is into that, whom you can sell the vision to, and convert this person into a team member, a founding team member. And as such, this person will play that role freely in exchange for equity, for equity in the long run. So you can identify these key areas and you try to find team members, persons who could join your team in exchange for equity. As such, it gives you an opportunity to actually grow. So that's what I would advise somebody who is starting.
That's really great. Now, looking at the bigger companies, right, given the fact that you tend to offer your services to maybe kind of like at least, let me say, medium-sized businesses. Yeah. So there's this tricky thing that always happens, especially when I see auditors in the company. I always ask myself, how ethical can they be, given the fact that the managers are the ones hiring them, but at the same time, they are supposed to give feedback on management. So how do you manage that when it comes to Blue Moon?
Again, there were different levels, right? Because in companies, interest varies. The interest of the board may be different from the interest of management. It may be different from the interests of the lower level staff. So the interests vary. Depending on who, people often bring expertise. When it comes to things like auditing, most of the time you hear is the shareholders or the board that's bringing auditors so that they can check on management and provide report. So at that time, the interest when we are doing a job like auditing, our interest is to satisfy the shareholders, the people who employ us, and what they want is an objective report because they want to check on management, they want to ensure compliance and everything that they are managing the way the policies of the company have prescribed. And we come at that time, we are doing that in the best way possible. Now, this may not be best for the manager because, especially an unethical manager, this may not be best for the manager. But at that time, we are satisfying the interests of the person that brings us. Now, when managers bring in consultants, also for services, you see that most of the time, they will bring people because they have a challenge. And if you come and do findings, and some of the results from your diagnosis, as you say, may not be best for them, may not be what they want to hear, but they may not just want to hear it for that instant. Because later, when you give them the truth of that challenge, some will dump you, go get other consultants, then later come back to say, now we realize what you were saying because the approach of the other consultants did not work or the other people work with. So what I tell my team at times, they say, are you sure? Are you sure? I said, no, just say it. Just say it. Just give them the right prescription. Because our motto has never been about just trying to get the money. Give them the right prescription. That's what will be sustainable in the long run. There are countless research done about ethical practices and profitability. It may fail in the short run, but in the long run, you win. Yeah. At times, it's even my best when you come when I'm certain this is the truth and this is the way to go, and because it hurts you in one way or another, and you keep me aside, at times I love it because I see you go around and you try, then you later shyly come back. I will give you the opportunity, then we start working. So my advice will be always stand for that. Somebody said the truth always wins. Never be afraid to say what you are convinced is the truth, and it will win in the long run.
More with Laye Mbunkur after the break. If you're just joining us today on the Shirlma Show, we've been in the presence of Laye Mbunkur, the Managing Director of Blue Moon Limited. So, Mr. Laye, you know, you have a lot of professionals like accountants, marketers who are working with big companies today. Most of the times, their end goal is always to become like a consultant or kind of like have a consultancy firm. So, but what are some of the things you feel they must take into consideration before actually having a company or starting on their own?
Yeah, that's a part which is, of course, the part I often recommend for people who want to start businesses. But when that moment, which is, I always tell people to, it's a risk you're taking, and like in any risky venture, you put all the options. It means it will not always go right. It could go very wrong. So what are the possible outcomes of this action you're about to take? And when you put all this outcome in place and you have plans, should it not go this way? Should it not go that way? Then you could begin taking this initiative. So one thing, or the main thing, is the mindset. Always come back to the mindset to say you should go with the right mindset. And you should make sure you are starting with this mindset you've understood and you have adopted, you have acquired this mindset. Business is never about money. You may not make the money, is something you should consider strongly. I have many friends who are working and they are doing far better than some of us who jumped into entrepreneurship. Yeah, I have friends with 7 million salary, 9 million salary, 6 million classmates and friends, and they are doing quite better. Some of our ventures are not making that amount as net profit monthly, like what they are earning for themselves. So, but there is a joy. There is a joy when you solve problems for people, when you address issues for people, when you are living a passion. There is a satisfaction, which most of the time that's the greatest outcome. And money, most of the time, is a byproduct. This could lead to you being very rich. Of course, yes, there are entrepreneurs who have become very rich. At the same time, it could lead to you never being that rich. Your richness may be the people you solve problems for, you've handled their challenges, and you have made rich. It could be your network, as somebody used to say, like, I found a man that will make me rich. You know, so it could be this. So I always question a lot about this mindset. Don't see that people are making money, you want to jump there because you want to go make money. You may be very disappointed when the years are going and the money has not come. The money is still far. You may be very disappointed. You may be very disappointed. So mindset. Acquire the right mindset. Entrepreneurship is not a sprint. It's a marathon. So if you go with that mindset and if you have acquired it, then I'll say you are good to go.
Oh, thank you. That was a great one. So in order to relax, we just have some few light questions. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You got the easy one.
Okay.
At what age should a child begin wearing his or her own clothes? Yeah, I think, well, I can express a wish.
Okay.
I've not been there yet where my own children are wearing their own clothes. Before that, it should still be guided to me by their parents. Even if you are chosen, you are chosen in line with. Or let me put it better: when you leave the house and you are on your own, you know, and most of the time it happens when you are going for university studies. That's why I would say at university level, I think at that time, if you are still under that house, okay, I think you have to follow what I want.
Great. Okay.
Which pet can you sleep on the same bed with? Oh! Well, I'm not a lover of pets in general, but the one that has managed to sleep on my bed is a cat.
Then you can still tolerate them.
Yes,
That's
it
cool
was
then.
not for my liking though, but the cat loved my bed. So my younger brother acquired this cat when we were very young. And no matter what you do, you find that cat on your bed in the middle. So at times you are sleeping at night and something touches your leg and you turn. We used to call this cat Peter. Peter is right there.
Whoa.
Even if you hit it, it runs away. When you are asleep, it comes back. You close the door or pass through the window. You know, Peter got his food, and I think that's the only one I could manage to sleep on the same bed with.
How can people get to you? Because you've listed a good number of services that Blue Moon Limited actually offers. So, but I'm sure some people will be wondering, if we need such services, how do we get to you?
Okay, I want to say first, maybe if you are owning a business, if you are into business, especially, and you are thinking about growing and scaling, I want to first say this is the person, then you need us. We have a service for you. In fact, we have many ways we can be of help to you. We may just be that partner you have been looking for. Secondly, if you are a diasporan, a Cameroonian diaspora, looking at running a business in Cameroon, because this is an environment we have a mastery of, then you need us. This is the second person I want to say. You need us so much. We got quite a lot we can do for you. So our service list is too long, more than 100 different services for those we have standardized, and we are developing new ones every day based on the different clients we have. So what I want to say, we have something for you. So all you need to do is get to our website, bluemoon-outsourcing.com, and you see our contacts. Write to us. If you write to us, we shall be right there. We'll exchange with you, and of course we'll find there's so many things we can do to make your life in business easier. There's quite a lot we can do for everybody who is out there in one of these categories.
Thank you so much. To me, it's really been, it kind of like seemed as if I was in the classroom learning from you. So it's really been a rich conversation for me.
And it's part of what I do. So I lecture as well. So
wow.
in the university, it's part of my passion.
Wow.
So I lecture entrepreneurship and different management studies. So it's part of my passion. And
it actually flows through. It flows through even in the conversation today. So thank you once more for being on the Shirlma Show, and we really wish you the best. We pray that even from this interview you continue getting a lot of clients and continue empowering the young ones and businesses, because we need bigger businesses and more organized businesses, more focused businesses in Africa. Thank you very much. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So once again, fellow viewers, on the Shirlma Show with us today was Laye Mbunkur, the Managing Director of Blue Moon Limited. We are always grateful that you're here with us. Remember, we are here because you're there. Do not forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment under our videos. Thank you.